You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Revenge After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Revenge After Show.
Welcome everybody, Bing is for doing, and we're here doing another Revenge After Show, Season 2, Episode 11, called Sabotage. Welcome. You guys know me. I'm Phil Svitek, joined alongside, yet again,
Anna Koppel.
Welcome. And you will not see Catherine Tulich nor Gabrielle Loren tonight because they are covering the Golden Globes. So instead, we figured we'd bring on a cast member.
It's true, you did that.
We did do that.
I hear the music, by the way. That's awesome. It gets me in like a dark mood.
I know. I love the Revenge intro. And the voice you guys hear is EJ. I don't want to butcher your last name because you have.
Though.
I was gonna say Bonilla.
That is wrong.
Bonilla.
Offensive. I take offense. Bonilla. Yeah,
Okay.
very good.
All right.
See, that's why I have co-hosts.
Yeah.
Espanol.
That's why I have co-hosts.
Zing. In Spanish, the L's are like a Y. They're 2 L's.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Bonilla.
I took French.
Oh, you kind of went up to me.
But this is great. We're having like a little bit of a Spanish lesson.
We are.
You know, AFTERBUZZ is branching out.
We are. No, we're very excited to have you, though. I had a lot of fun watching the show with you.
Yeah.
And then, so we'll get to talk to EJ. We'll interview him. But for now, he's going to join us as we dissect tonight's episode.
And for those who aren't watching and may not know, EJ plays Marco on.
That's right.
On
That's exactly right. All right, so let's start with Amanda and her teaming up with Conrad versus the Ryans. Which, by the way, before we begin, you mentioned that the Ryans, the actual people, not the characters, they're very funny guys.
The Ryans are played by Michael and JR. JR Bourne, I think Michael's last name is Trucco or Trucco. Hilarious dudes. And actually, in real life, they're like best friends. So them together, like vamping off of each other on the back lot while we're like rehearsing lines and stuff like that is enjoyable. They're funny guys.
It's really cool. So yeah, because there's definitely a closeness between them. So I mean, it makes sense. It shows up. I think.
Ironically, I don't think they're as close as I don't know, as you guys, I guess, think. Because for me, Kenny, there's at least some compassion to him, whereas Nate is just a hard ass, and he's like, yeah, I'll take you all down. Let's go. You know, because in that moment when so Nate leaves, right, and you know Kenny goes like, hey, just come on, just do what's necessary. You don't want any more trouble for your family.
Right. Don't make waves.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I didn't say they were the same person, but I think that there's a closeness between them. I buy that they're brothers on the show.
Not that they're very similar in the way that they act.
Yeah.
I can definitely see the relationship as well. They're, you know, Kenny is obviously the elder brother.
Just talking to your mic a little bit more.
Kenny's
saying amazing
obviously
stuff.
the elder brother, the more mature of the two, which
Mhm.
is possibly why he has more of this compassion that you're talking about, because he's experienced more. They seem like the kind of guys that have had a certain life, if I can say that, and the person that's older has been through more. So it seems like that's where his compassion might come from.
Yeah, and it seems to me, you know, it's also a theme of the show where, you know, legacy, right? The term legacy. And, you know, whereas Nate has kind of followed in the mentorship of his father, you know, as we saw in those flashbacks. And Kenny, you know, might kind of be veering away from that. He doesn't, like Daniel, for better or worse, doesn't want to follow in those footsteps of his father. Does that make sense to you guys?
It makes sense to me, yeah.
So, but in terms of that, you know, now Jack's obviously in jail, and so we're trying to bust him out. I got a little down on Jack being so truthful in a jail. I don't know, you know, I don't know if that's the best thing. Do they record that stuff while you're on the phone?
Literally what I was thinking about while watching it, but I don't know. I guess it would make more sense if they were visiting face to face, but if they're over the telephone thing between the glass, I don't know.
I have heard that they record those conversations. I think that's more of a prison issue that they record conversations. I think Jack is just in jail right now, in like a holding area. I mean, he hasn't gone to trial or anything, so I don't know that they would be recording those.
This is why I don't want to go to jail, because I don't even know the legal process.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
There's a huge difference between jail and prison, which I learned of recently.
There is.
Yeah. And I think if they do record those conversations, they really can't use that against them. In prison, they can, because they are already convicted and whatever. There are different laws. I watch a lot of Lockup.
We
you
really
guys.
are learning a lot today.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But before anybody's convicted, it's kind of an illegal recording.
I see.
I think.
Well, I didn't really need a whole lesson on
it. I have my phone by me.
I didn't necessarily want to get too much into it, but just it was more like a side thing. But you know, it's interesting after that how you know, it's been interesting for the whole season how Amanda and Charlotte are getting closer. We call her Amanda, by the way, just for simplicity, because then it would just get too confusing.
Yeah,
even
you
though
don't want to say Amanda, Emily, Manda.
Yeah.
Emily.
Fomanda.
But the fact that their fake relationship as sisters is continuing to grow, you know, with Charlotte, that's really interesting, and how that's developing.
Right. Before we like veer into that though, I do just kind of want to stick with this. What do you think Conrad's interest is in Jack Porter and Amanda?
For him, I don't think there's a lot. I mean, as we saw, it was more Ashley's doing than anything. I think he could care less.
Then what's Ashley's interest?
The politicalness of it all. You know?
I think she's interested in continuing the lifestyle that she's accustomed to having. You know, they fired her. She has no source of income now. And I'm sure she was getting paid fairly well in this world of theirs. And to be kicked out, you need to find your way back in. And since he's going into politics now and she has an option of being by his side and not having to deal with Victoria, she's just playing it smart. She's a really intelligent girl.
That, and I think, you know, she knows these people, you know, and for better or worse, you know, you just, sometimes you work with people that, I mean, they clearly hate each other, but you know what's the alternative? She doesn't want to restart.
Right. I mean, I get Ashley's interest in working with Conrad, but I don't really understand the real gain for Conrad helping Jack, pulling strings for him.
Well, because it clears his name, you know, cop corruption, right? That's going to be his angle politically. And of course, he's had to deal with that numerous times. And then, you know, to a degree, it's also sending a message against the initiative, because they are, you know, they're corrupt as well, and they've corrupted cops and against them, but the irony is that they've also helped them due to cop corruption, so that's going to be funny. But I think for Conrad, you know, it's twofold. But I think ultimately he's sending that message to the initiative.
Well, what's interesting is that is Conrad aware that the reason why Jack's in jail is because of the Ryan brothers?
I think they explained that to him pretty well with Charlotte and Amanda.
Well, okay. The only reason why I bring it up is because if he isn't aware that Jack's completely innocent, he's not sure of it. He can't be. He said it. He said the only reason why he was like, I was completely sure that I was innocent. I understand what she's saying. Is the point I'm making, that, you know, if he doesn't know and he's not sure and he ends up being wrong and Jack is guilty, then he looks horrible. So what's the point in that? Is that what you were getting at?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's part of it, but I just think, like, who is this guy to Conrad? Who is Jack Porter? If it was somebody, you know, of a higher stature, you know, just a nobody to Conrad. We
know Ashley's an opportunist, and if nothing else, there's an opportunity for Conrad. And now at this point, because he's committed, regardless of whether or not, you know, at this point, it doesn't matter to Conrad if Jack's innocent or not. He will make him innocent, regardless of the circumstances.
That's actually a really great point. And he has the opportunity of saying that he's helped the common man.
Yeah.
You know, that's a vote he would want if he's going into politics.
And plus, Ashley having dealt with drugs, you know, he's as he said, he's cleaning up the streets of his own backyard.
I love intellectualizing all this stuff.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So
All right, I'm sold on it.
there you
All
go.
right.
Because
job,
we have so
man.
much to get to, let's move on to the next storyline, which is actually involving our guest here,
Who?
Marco.
Oh, right. right.
So you know, we read a news article in our news and gossip last week where it's, you know, you basically talked about how there would be a switch, and that audiences would like your character a little bit more, and we thought we saw that in last episode when, you know, you gave the when you gave that piece to Nolan. And we thought that was going to be the key to this kind of reversal for an audience. And then obviously we were way off because it happened tonight, especially with Padma being on the phone with Helen at the very, very end.
Love it.
But in terms of that, you know, we were, as at least for me, when I was watching it, I was going back and forth, and I was trying to ask you, like, who's evil in this? Are you or is she?
And I told you, I said I know the answer because I read the scripts, which is really exciting.
But it's an interesting triangle, and how do I want to ask it? Or well, Anna, what are your thoughts on tonight's that whole development?
I just, you know, poor Nolan. I feel so terrible for him. There's, you know, last season he was just hanging out in his billion-dollar home, whatever it was, and hanging out by the pool and
Lonely.
and, you know, but there to help Emily and taking calls and whatever. And this season, I just feel so bad for him. He just looks so stressed and.
Well, here's what I think the difference is, and it's because of what you just said. Last year, like, he's a good leader, but he's a good leader within his own company. I don't think he's a good leader outside of that, and especially like strategy of what's going on with all this, you know. And as you said, he took direction from Emily. So in this world, he needs direction. And right now, since Emily can't really help him with this stuff, with romance, but there's also politics involved in all this. You know, he doesn't know how to deal with that. He doesn't know who to believe because that's not his game. That side of it was handled by Emily. You know, if you just asked him to run a technology company, it's what he's great at. But include the politics, not so much.
That's interesting. That's a. I feel like a lot of people who are really good at one thing, you're right, they often lack in another area. And he's a genius, isn't he?
Yes.
But maybe certain social skills, like having to deal with lovers and stuff like that, come second.
He's also confused. I mean, a man and a woman.
Is he confused? Maybe that's natural. Maybe that's beautiful. Maybe it's both. Maybe we both end up with him at the same time.
Would that ever happen?
I'd do it. Sure.
Well, obviously, he's had at least a physical attraction to both of you guys, but emotionally, who do you think he's more tied to? Marco from the past or Padma now?
Me?
Like, yeah.
For me, no. I'm asking. Do you want me to answer? Yeah. For me, it's a real easy answer. Marco. And the reason being that Marco, of all people on the entire show, really knows Nolan, because he knew Nolan before Nolan was Nolan Ross. He knew Nolan when Nolan was still trying to start this company, was still trying to start No Corp, was, you know, staying up late nights, creating programs like Cassia.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, they were together starting that company. They were broke together. And it's a different story when you know someone when they're really well off and famous versus knowing them before.
Yeah.
You know, and that history says a lot, I feel.
Yeah.
And obviously, Padma made up the story on why she was late to the auction. We obviously know it wasn't you. After, at least we can assume that safely once we saw that. But you know, what stopped your character from kind of going on the offensive? Because, you know, we got that nice little shot with you listening on to what was going on.
Right.
You know, between Padma and Nolan, and talking about, hey, I need a date for the auction. You know, why wouldn't, you know, you were trying to gain Nolan's trust. What stopped Marco from going that extra step?
You know, it's funny. I've talked to fans along the time that I've been on the show so far, and everyone is really mad at me for messing with Nolan's head. And I think quite the opposite for myself. I think that Marco isn't really messing with his head. I think he's asking for what he believes is rightfully his. He didn't go and ask for money. He didn't ask for some type of payout. If anything, you know, in the past, he refused the payout. He didn't want to touch the money. But it's as if think about the Facebook guys. Everyone who you know started a Facebook, and if there was one guy, I think there is one guy who was like left out of the loop, or he left before it went really public, and they made a lot of money. That guy would be really upset. Like, I helped to start this company, and I've seen nothing from it. So imagine Marco, in the past 6 years, watching Nolan's success, saying this was part mine. I helped to build him to where he is, and I've seen nothing from it. I want my old job back. I think I deserve that much, and I think that he's only doing that. And so, by not like being vindictive and revengeful in his own way, with this whole Dilshad thing is concerned, he's showing his integrity.
Yeah.
You know, he's saying, you know what, you'll realize it.
So
I'll be here.
You mentioned there was a lot of stuff cut between the confrontation with Nolan, Padma, and yourself. What stuff got cut off? And I'll tell you the answer why I think from a filmmaker perspective, I know it got cut off.
Go on, please tell me.
Well, you didn't need it. Is essentially, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I think,
why it got cut? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I want to know what got cut out, but I think by having that stuff, I think it would have made less intrigue for the audience. You know, like, because in those moments, even me, I was going back and forth, like, wait, are you the asshole? Is she the asshole? And
Right.
Through that scene, I that's when I developed the understanding. You know what? She's the evil one, and I think had we had more of that, I wouldn't. There would have been less questioning. So there would, by putting more, it would have answered it more easily for the audience.
Totally. I mean, that's completely possible. I mean, from an actor's perspective,
That
I'm
sucks. I
like,
get it.
come on, it was awesome. I wanted to see that, be said to her. And, I mean, really, originally there was just like the way that he left the room. I'm not sure if I'm even allowed to say since it's already aired or whatever, but I think in my opinion, reassured the audience of Marco's character, similar to the question that we were just talking about. And I wish it was there, but it wasn't. And I was sad.
That is a shame.
Maybe on the DVD extras.
Maybe. I mean, he basically left and said that, when you're ready, I'll be here, and I will be more forgiving to you than you have ever been to me.
That's actually really I'm surprised that actually did get cut.
Yeah.
That's a powerful line.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from an actor's perspective, I'm like, oh, I wish they could have seen that. Not because I'm, starving for spotlight, but because Marco, I felt like, deserved to say that. But, it's a television show, and they film a lot, and they need to cut the fat because they need to make a certain
I think
time.
you're right. That would have actually been very revealing, and because it is such a powerful line.
It's true.
Yeah.
I don't think people who are guilty say that thing.
But maybe it was too powerful and they want to keep us.
That's what I'm saying.
Possibly
Yeah.
keep us in suspense. Well, you're keeping me in suspense, guys. It's rude.
We'll talk about let's talk about this love triangle or whatever it's going to turn out to
Whatever
be.
it's called.
We'll, when we talk with you, kind of more specifically about your character. Let's for right now, let's try to get through the rest of it. What is that? iTunes. Want to talk about iTunes? Let's talk about iTunes. We thank you guys, obviously, for listening every week, and we definitely appreciate it. Two things that you guys could really, really do for us. The biggest thing is just tell a friend. We love the show, Revenge, and obviously you guys do as well. I'm sure you guys have friends that love the show, and even if they don't, let them know of Revenge. Revenge is an awesome show. So we're here, first and foremost, supporting the show. And then by doing that, also let them know that there's an after show for it. Because we, again,
There's a lot that happens.
there's a lot that happens.
Want to talk about it?
You want to talk about it, and we're essentially wanting to build a community. And for those of you who rate and comment on both iTunes and YouTube, we love reading those comments. You guys present different theories, and as you've been talking, you read, fan tweets or whatever.
Right.
That's awesome. That's what we love doing. Because I'm genuinely passionate about the show, and I want to know everything and talk about it more. So please just rate and comment on iTunes and tell a friend. It helps us out so much because it's free to you guys, but not free to us.
Yeah.
Cost. Well, I won't do a breakdown of how much it costs
Fair
me to
enough.
be here right now, but
But it's free to you guys, so, just go ahead, give us a little 5 stars. Just give us 5 stars. Just give us a little 5 stars.
that's right.
Can I say, though, I think it's awesome that you guys do this.
Oh,
you guys
thank
are
you.
basically doing what my friends and I do in our living room when we're watching television, and it's break everything down You know, I love that it is a discussion. You know, it's not just one person commenting or just one person having an interview with another. It's a group of people talking. I like that.
And we like bringing the fans. So let's talk about Stonehaven.
Yeah, what is it?
Well, it's very revealing of what it actually is. It's a company. It's that basically does recovery, right? So like if there's a Katrina, they would be the relief effort, right? So clearly that indicates there's going to be a terrorist attack of some sorts.
Okay.
Right? I mean, there's no other explanation for that. I mean, especially with what Victoria and Conrad, the way they were talking, you know, well, you know what that's setting up to do, because they've lived through it, but like, again, why else would you invest in a relief effort and say, you know, that's kind of going down the tubes and say, oh, in 6 months it's going to be huge. Why? Because in 6 months they'll have a ton of business. So, you know, it's just, right?
Right.
Tell me I'm wrong on it.
I didn't even think of that. I think you might be right. I don't know.
I think I'm totally right. If I'm wrong on this one, I don't know. But I don't think I've ever felt more right.
Fair.
So that's what Stonehaven is. I mean, well, let me ask you this. The better question is, does Daniel think this?
I don't know. Is Daniel privy to that information?
He's not, but at the end of the day, like, you know, Daniel's whole thing is he wants to be more part of the loop, you know, and have some intelligence behind him and put 2 and 2 together. Is he putting 2 and 2 together?
He's not, he can't. I don't think he's capable of such things.
I mean,
He's not intelligent.
I mean, it sucks to say Daniel's not that intelligent, you know. Right now he's love struck. So that's got his mind all warped.
Yeah.
He's also thinking about Jason and his mother, and God knows where his mind's going with that. And you know, now he's listening to terrorists who he doesn't know are really terrorists or whatever you want to call the initiative. Yeah, I don't. And he's following the track of. It's been initiated to research, you know, R&D of Null Corp, and you know he's going after all these different things, but I don't know if he knows how to put it all together.
I don't know if he's aware of it. I, of course, was joking about Daniel being you know, not very intelligent. I think he's very intelligent. I just don't think this industry is where he's meant to be in. You know, if you guys remember that flashback episode we had a couple years ago, he's a poet. You know, he's a sensitive soul, and he's being forced to become something that. I think deep down he realizes he doesn't really want to be, you know, but he wants to be accepted and wants to feel powerful and wants to feel, you know, visible in his parents' eyes. And sometimes when it's not what you love to do, you're distracted.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, I just... You go ahead.
Well, here's what I will say. I think,
I'll go ahead. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
ironically enough, it comes from an altruistic side, I believe, ultimately. Because he wants to be better than Victoria and he wants to be better than Conrad. And so that's his intrinsic nature trying to run this company in a fashion that is, you know, worthy of that goal.
Right.
But it's the steps he's taken aren't obviously indicative
I feel like he
of
has
that.
blinders on. You know, I think he's got all these goals, and so he's so focused he doesn't see what's right around him right now.
Yeah.
You know.
Too many people manipulate and control him. Whether or not he realizes that people are making decisions for him.
Because everything's, you know, I wouldn't even say like it's double-sided. It's, you know, you're reaching like 4 levels of thinking all the time. And I think Daniel's maybe on like level 3. You know, he can see like those plays, but he can't see beyond that. And I think, you know, as we kind of discussed, that might be Nolan's problem as well. If Emily's not interpreting things for him, he doesn't know.
Emily's also been trained for years to handle that kind of stuff, and these other people, Nolan and Daniel, I think, are sensitive souls.
Yeah. I don't want to run a company.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. These multi-billion-dollar companies, I don't know.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, there you go.
Revenge is a hobby of mine, and it's time to do other things for my billions.
It's good.
I totally understand. I feel the pain.
I made it sound like I sell my body for billions, is what it made it sound like. I was like, yeah, I do other things.
You know what? I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Prostitution,
Just
serious problem in the United States.
Serious problem. Just to backtrack a little bit, Ashley made the comment to Conrad, I know where the bodies are hidden, proverbially and otherwise. Do we know? I mean, is this foreshadowing, or do we know that they buried?
Was it metaphorical, maybe? The
she
bodies?
said proverbial and otherwise.
Oh, she specifically was like, you killed folks.
You killed people and buried them, and I know where the bodies are buried.
You are the mafia, is what she said.
That's good. I didn't pick that up. I don't know how to interpret it.
Well, so yeah, I'm just like double checking. Is that a foreshadow? It must be a foreshadow because we don't know about.
Yeah, I mean,
bodies.
it's everything, usually when a line sounds multi-layered, it probably is in this show. So, I'm glad you actually picked that up because I certainly didn't.
I'll say this. I know that, for a fact, the writers have created this world, and stuff's going to go on in this world, even what the cameras don't catch.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of storylines are, because of that, started or seem to start. Like, all these possibilities are out there. So then they can take advantage of that and say, well, we choose to see this.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
it could happen. We could see it. It might not.
Yeah. And so going back to Stonehaven, because it's kind of blackmail related as well, in terms of that, with Jason in particular.
Yes.
And him getting invited, has this reached its full ploy of sabotage, or is this going to carry on to the next episode?
Of course, it's going to carry on.
What do you think the full plan for the sabotage with Jason is? Like, what, that's why I asked, because I don't think it is complete, but I'm asking, I guess, what the full goal is of Jason.
I think that they're still trying to dethrone Daniel. And I think Stonehaven, I'm not.
Well, is Victoria? Is she trying to? She's obviously trying to dethrone him, but it's for his good.
Sure.
And buying Stonehaven is obviously would, in her eyes, hurt Daniel.
Right. Gives him some sort of monopoly that.
So is she trying to have him buy it, Jason?
Yes.
And then what?
And then I don't know, but
I understand that's a tough question, but
right, but see, and that's why I'm not exactly sure what Stonehaven controls. I mean, they have some sort of something that I think we just don't know yet. So.
Can I say this? It almost seems like, because now that you brought that up, it makes me think about it. It almost seems like, and I promise I'm not coming from a place of I actually know and I'm pretending like I'm talking intelligently about stuff. It almost seems like Victoria's playing it incredibly smart, because she is, in a sense, it's seeming to try to dethrone Daniel, get him out of harm's way. The king is where all the arrows are pointed at. She also seems like she's trying to toughen him up, giving him a competitor, a sparring partner, if you will, to say, even if I can't dethrone you, my son's going to be strong and be able to handle himself. So that she's covering both angles. She's really smart, and she's gorgeous. That's really fit.
That's a good. No, that's actually really smart. I never thought of it that way. But you're right, because Conrad couldn't necessarily defeat Jason, but Daniel did.
And it almost speaks to her faith in her son and her faith in his intelligence. I think he is a really smart guy. I think he is just a sensitive soul, and she's, without him knowing it, because she's manipulating the shit out of him. Wait, can I say that? No.
Yeah.
I can?
She's
did. Manipulating the shit out of him, and making him stronger in the process. It's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like that. I love. Well, this is more on the Daniel and Emily side, but I love how the wine turned out to be shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I laughed. She spit it out so quick.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, turned
Can
wine
wine
is not-
turn?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It can turn bad, but usually only when you open it. The whole thing is like the older the wine, the better. So
Right.
this is a 1945 wine.
Maybe it wasn't corked well.
Well, yes, wine can become corked on its own. Like every batch of wine can have a bottle or two that just
Sour.
doesn't. Yeah,
Just a side note, if you're having an auction and the wine eventually could become $1 million, just have a little taste.
Open the
Before you
bottle of
sell
wine.
it. Before you sell it for $1 million.
Hey guys, you want to buy an unopened bottle? Wait.
Just
Okay, now
saying.
it's half off.
Just totally side note,
Well, they should probably gift him another bottle.
Yes.
as a gesture of good faith.
Emily can give him one from her shelf.
Oh,
Here, I
sure.
got this at Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
$6.
So speaking of that, unless you guys really want to kind of dissect the wine auction, but I don't.
Speaking of what, of Trader Joe's?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I love them.
Let's talk about Aiden and Emily because obviously that plays a big role in tonight, and they're splitting apart. The more it's in many ways the closer Daniel and Emily get, the farther Aiden is from Emily.
But are they really getting closer, or is she just playing the game?
She's playing the game, but at the same time, it's still affecting the actual relationship that Emily and Aiden have.
Right, but I just feel like that's so insecure of Aiden.
Well, yes, I agree.
He is a male.
Well, girl,
Girl.
he is a male.
Shit.
Well, I mean, it's Martin's laughing in the booth. No, it's just I feel like revenge is a fickle thing, and Daniel's dealing with his things and
deep.
his women. No, but like now the just notion of Colleen, Aiden, like Daniel's becoming very emotional. First about Colleen, now about her.
Well, he's also, I mean, he's been trained, right? And in the flashback episode, there were, what's the Emily's trainer's name?
Takeda.
Takeda was skeptical about taking Aiden on. She forced him. So he didn't, that right there told you that he may not have the it factor, right, to keep his wits about him. Also, he's a male.
But Emily almost broke too last season.
True, but she's human, and then you think
Aiden
about...
is not.
Aiden is, but Aiden also right now is very emotional because there's the prospect of his sister being alive.
Yeah.
So, if something serious happens to you in your life, the stuff that you're normally cool and calm about all of a sudden they more easily affect you.
Yeah. And I feel like I feel for me, the biggest part for Aiden, what's really eating him is that he wants Emily to be on his side right now more than ever,
Right.
because of that fact of Colleen and the fact that she's not really interested. She's more, it says that hurts him, and that's what's killing him inside. I believe that's like, you know what I mean? If there's a breaking point, that's what I feel it is. The combination of the two.
I mean, Emily just can't take care of everybody's problems, She has her own plot of revenge to take care of, and she just can't be like bailing Jack out of jail, and it's like...
But everyone helps her at the drop of a dime.
Okay? She is busy. She's got a lot of revenge stuff to do. No, you're right. I'm sorry.
Everybody does help her at the drop of the dime. You're right. That's true.
She can't just take.
She's a little bit of a man-eater.
She's also living in an unrealistic world to a certain extent. Can I say that?
I mean,
The Hamptons?
Because I'm doing it. The Hamptons doesn't exist.
No,
It's not New York,
not
also
right.
non-existent. No, I just mean that, everyone is dropping to help her at the drop of a dime, right? That's the expression. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
And she's not realizing what she has right in front of her right now. She has this life that she could live and have friends and have people that care and love her. But she chooses to live in this world of revenge. Chooses to live with this goal in mind, and she's not letting it go. And that's what I mean is it's unrealistic. Just maybe it's the wrong word. I don't think she's appreciating what she has, and so it seems like she's just being really selfish.
I feel like she had a choice in season 1 to either, I think the episode was literally called commitment, right? You commit to something, you go through it, and there eventually just comes a point where, it's, there's a term from it, borrowing from another show, half measures and full measures. And if you go half measure on something, then it's ultimately going to come back on you and hurt you more. Whereas if you go full measure and commit 100%, then, you'll achieve that goal. And if, I think she crossed that point of no return in season 1.
I would agree with you, yeah.
So, and now if she decided to live happily ever after, like, think of all the times Victoria would pull her back in. As she said last episode, how can you say no to Victoria?
Right.
So, Victoria's very...
It's a really sad place to be. Sorry.
It is.
No, go ahead.
It is.
That's all I had to say. It's that sad. Imagine that being real for you or it's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as you said, she's choosing that life. She's independently wealthy. She could live anywhere in the world, but she goes back to the place where her father was taken and lives where she can't say no to Victoria.
Let's talk about since we're on the subject of Aiden, the plot that her and Nolan have against Aiden and Helen. I thought that was really interesting. I don't know what conclusions I can draw to it. You know, obviously I get the setup, but in terms of what Helen now thinks, you know, because Aiden asked her like, you know, do you have any idea who this could be? And you know, she says, yeah, I think I suspect who it is. And I don't know where that's leading. Do you guys have any inkling or? Again, a loaded question.
I didn't catch that. I must have been taking notes because I thought Aiden was in on it too.
No. Well, because I think they were testing Aiden's resolve, you know, of how... Because remember they said, you know, I think Aiden's hedging his bets. What are they talking about? And they set up the whole thing. And remember, Aiden was trying to pull off the mask, but then Nolan came down and he started shooting.
Aiden wasn't trying to pull off the mask. Helen was.
Oh, that's right.
And he took her away before he could.
That's a good point. I'm
also,
sorry.
Also, Aiden's a crack shot, and he was missing. So I'm pretty sure those bullets were blanks. Oh, unless he didn't know they were blanks because he took the gun from her. That's true. But then I think about, and I swear I'm not coming from a place of knowing. I think about the last scene where he comes over, and it was really sweet when Emily says, "Trust me." You know?
Right.
Oh, I did not catch that.
She says, "Trust me."
Yeah.
Sort of like, you know, wordplay. And she hands him his bag. I have a feeling that there was more in that bag than his things. I think that there were like things from that night there for whatever purpose.
Yeah. Okay. Then perhaps he wasn't on it. I think for me, I could be wrong. I'm probably gonna get so many emails about this or like fan comments, but I think, I think for me, Aiden was not in on it until that part. I think, you know, it'll be explained to him as you said in the bag, but I don't.
Maybe.
I don't know. I can't wait till.
It would have been
everyone
really
proves me
interesting
wrong.
if like he was shooting, was like, "What's wrong with this gun? Wait a second."
Yeah.
That was a good Aiden impression.
There was a moment where Aiden does his James Bond impression.
Yeah.
I thought that was
hilarious. Yeah,
That
I
was
liked
pretty
I
funny.
was like, "What have you got for us now?" And I
Cute.
laughed.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
To hopefully make my point, I think, or solidify it, the reason why I don't think Aiden was in on it was because he told Helen, "Don't say anything."
I mean, if he wasn't on it, that's exactly what he would say. He's also trained by Takeda, right? He would know exactly what to do in the situation. If they're trying to bring Aiden and Helen closer together, I mean, no,
That's true.
wait, what am I saying? Why are we arguing about this? He
I don't know.
literally says it to her on the phone.
Yeah.
He's like, "If tonight worked, then blah 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 blah," and she's like, "Well, we can't place our bets before." But they're both horrible impressions. But
You're an actor. You should do better than that.
and it's pressure. It's live. It's crazy. But he says it on the phone to her. He's like, "If tonight worked, you don't need to keep up your charade with Daniel." And she says,
That's right.
"Well,
All right.
we're
I
not
stand
sure."
corrected.
Okay.
Is that
So
what you want?
basically, you were not watching the show.
I
which
stand
I take
corrected.
offense to
No,
because I
you're-
was on it.
Well, we were just so mesmerized by your scenes. You know, we just.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, fast forward through this.
Yeah.
The truth is, we didn't watch the other scenes.
We just
Yeah, we just rewatched
we
this
just
a bunch,
fast
few
forwarded
times.
to mine.
And yeah, I mean, we interpolated what happened in those.
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of covers it. You know, I want to, I kind of rushed through it because I definitely want to spend a little more time talking about Marco and that storyline. But right, that covers for the most part everything.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Again, this is really fun. This is awesome.
Yeah.
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 All right.
Having
Yeah.
a great time, right?
let's shift. Let's shift over to you, if you don't mind, and let's start with Marco.
Made that really scary.
The good news is, thanks to tonight's episode, half my questions don't even matter.
Awesome.
No, but I guess this still kind of matters. What are your feelings towards Padma? Obviously, tonight answers it clearly that there's a huge dislike towards her. But can you describe it a little bit better than just dislike? Or
Sure. How many cusses are we allowed to say?
10.
Seriously?
Sure.
She's a bitch. She's a mean-spirited bitch. No, I'm kidding. Well, no, wait. Padma really is. I think so. I think Marco was suspicious of her from the beginning. That's my feeling because I'm him. I think that it is genuinely suspicious that, well, because Marco knows from his perspective that he didn't write that email.
Mm-hmm.
He also knows that all this suspicion that's up about Cassia from Daniel.
Carrion?
Carrion? Carrion.
Okay.
Sorry.
No.
It was originally, I think, written as Cassian. Sorry.
No. I just want to
There
make
you
sure
go.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page. That's all. Yeah.
Carrion.
Yeah.
Carrie Ann?
Carrie Ann sounds way
Dilshad
more
said it,
like
which I thought was-
suspicious of whatever it is.
Dilshad said Carrie Ann. Like, he was talking about a Carrie Ann. Sorry, Dilshad's the actress's name.
Yeah, Padma.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. I cracked up.
Yeah.
Good job, Dilshad. No, I think that, he knows that he didn't raise suspicion of it, and only Nolan knew, who else could have known.
Yeah.
So when he says to Nolan, what is suspicious is, this girl suddenly shows back up into your life and such and this happens, makes complete sense to him.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. You, forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, but you said you guys had the same acting coach? You and her?
Yeah, I'm really glad you bring that up. Anthony Abeson, Abeson, honestly, in my opinion, the best coach in the city. Of course,
In
that's
New York or LA?
in New York.
Okay.
In New York. He has like this really small classroom setting at the Producers Club on like 44th and 9th. And Gabriel trained with him personally, just private coaching, just one-on-one. But both Padma and I were in class. We weren't in class together, but over the years we're in his classroom. I mean, he's amazing. And the fact that he has 3 actors on the same show now speaks to that. He's fantastic.
Interesting. Well, there goes my theory on how you got cast. I was going to say that.
That's what it was. I know.
Is it?
Yeah, no, I know the shot. No, I'm joking. That didn't happen.
How did you get cast into the role?
Well, really, it's I really like ABC for this one because they cast me, and 2, I think they're really good at. She just laughs at anything. I'm not very funny. They're really good at breaking certain borders because the part was written for a 30-something black man, and they just cast who they felt was right in the part. I am not a 30-something-year-old black man, in case you guys were confused.
For those of you who aren't watching.
Can I say you do look older on the show? You look much older on the show.
I'm glad because I'm not 30-something.
And now that we know
That's on
Nolan,
purpose.
we know Nolan's age, and he does not look his age either. So you guys meet nicely in the middle.
Yeah, he's a really young guy, isn't he? He's fit and good looking. Sorry. I apologize. No, but I auditioned like everyone else. And I just got really lucky. I'm really happy.
How did you find out about the part?
I have a manager and an agent. At the time, I was repped by Abrams Artists. And they just got me the audition.
And let me ask you this: I mean, what was the description of the character? And you'll see where I'm going with this.
It's a great question. Actually, when I first auditioned for him, I played him more OCD. And I actually really liked that playing of him. But, you get into the room with directors and things change. But he was, in the breakdown, the kid who doesn't have a lot of social skills. The kid who in high school was very shy and very to himself, the introvert. And then when I was in the audition room, they said, well, he is that guy on the inside, but at the same time, he's had to be accustomed to leading a boardroom full of people, and so he's broken out of his shell a bit, but he's still that guy on the inside, which became the overall way that I feel like I kind of played him. I think he's not really good at dealing with his emotions either, which is why he was so affected by Nolan's lying to him in the past and what's going on with him now. I don't think he's the kind of person to open up easily, and when he does, and he loves. So I feel like he really loves Nolan, and that's not easy for him.
Did you? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Did you have any reservations about playing a gay character?
Not anymore. I mean, I think that...
Not anymore.
Well, I say that being completely honest. When you are... I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm a Puerto Rican male from Brooklyn. There's a lot of misconceptions about the homosexual community. There are a lot of stereotypes, and there's a lot of fear, and there's a homophobia that exists in that community. And, I've learned throughout the course of my life thus far that most of them just aren't true. Just all the fear that we have is for naught, and I think that it's my purpose as an actor to portray my character as best I can. And what I want to do for the rest of my life is just tell stories. I want to tell real human stories. And when I get a chance to do that, that's just what I do, whether the character is gay or not. But, the first time I had to play a homosexual role or to kiss another guy, I was afraid. I was confused. I was scared. I was like, should I do it? What does that mean about me? You know, and I remember talking to an old director of mine. His name is Cruz Angeles. He wrote and directed this film, or co-wrote and directed with his wife, this film called Don't Let Me Drown that I was in years ago. Amazing guy, amazing director. And he said to me, you know, is the character worth playing? I said, well, yes. He's like, well, then you do it.
Yeah.
That's great
And
advice.
that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
We were talking a little bit before the show, and please feel free to just say no to this. You don't have to. You don't have to answer anything.
The answer is no.
But you talked a little bit about your dad and sort of his reaction. Do you want to share that story?
No, that's actually really funny. Well, just an example of what that community is like. My dad's really old school. He's, you know, Boricua from the 70s. That was his prime, 70s and 80s. And so when when I told him what was going to happen on the show, I, as a joke, put him on speakerphone because I was with my girlfriend, her mother, and her brother. And we were all in the car, and I was like, just listen to this for a second. I was like, hey, Pop. So I got the part. He was like, oh, Papa, that's good, man. What is it? And I was like, it's on Revenge, this show on ABC. He was like, oh, yeah. I was like, the character's gay. He was like, no, Papa, no. Don't do it, man. He was like, don't do that to me. I was like, I have to kiss a dude. He was like, EJ, you know I have a weak heart. And he was really serious.
Yeah.
And of course, I was, you know, he's like, well, did you get paid well? I was like, yeah, I got paid well. He's like, oh, okay, fine. So, you know, he got over it really quick. But, you know, sometimes it's really good that I take parts like this because it helps educate that community. That, especially my friends from back there. They're like, well, EJ's not gay, but how can he be comfortable doing that?
Did you do anything to research the role? Or research
How to be gay?
role? Yeah, how to be gay.
So I went to a lot of clubs and I hung out.
Well, here's what I know I'm very close friends with Cameron Monaghan, and I don't know if you know him, but he plays Ian on Shameless.
Awesome.
And Ian is a gay character as well.
Right.
And I've had the opportunity to interview him as well.
Fantastic show, by the way. It was a British show originally. Didn't know that.
Was.
I'm on the 3rd season. It is awesome.
You're on Shameless?
On the 3rd season. Wait, funny story. I meant I'm on the 3rd season of the British Shameless, as in watching it on Hulu Plus.
Oh.
But you're also correct in that I am also a guest star on the 3rd season of the American Shameless.
That's awesome.
I think it's episode 3 of the 3rd season.
That's super awesome.
I also
that's
play
ridiculous.
a gay character on that show.
Do you go with him?
No, not with him.
Oh.
That's awesome.
I don't want to give anything away.
Didn't it premiere tonight?
Yes, it did.
So not this Sunday, but the following, or not the following.
2 Sundays from
Episode 3.
Yeah.
Episode 3.
AfterBuzz TV exclusive.
No, but that's really awesome because what I was gonna say is that the way Cameron described it, I play a character who is gay, but I am not, like, that doesn't define me.
Right.
And your performance, it doesn't. The gay doesn't define like your character.
Not at all.
You're at the end of the day, to me, you're always gonna be Marco.
Right.
I
got a lot of like fan tweets and like messages on Facebook thanking me for playing the character more quote unquote straight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because of that. I think people think in stereotypes when they think gay, and it is nothing to do. It's who you love doesn't define who you are.
Yeah.
It's just who you love.
Yeah.
Agree. And my other question is, as we were watching the episode, you were obviously talking about a lot of the people, and so it seems like the set is very close.
It's a good cast.
You guys interact with each other because realistically, you've only been in scenes with Josh, who plays Daniel, and Nolan and Padma, right?
Right. Yeah. Just about.
But you seem to know all of them.
Well, you're on set and they're shooting scenes somewhere else, or you're all on location together and they're just waiting to shoot their scenes, or your trailers are close to one another, and you have conversations with people. Everyone's really super sweet and super nice. Gabe especially, of course, I've spent the most time with him, is just the nicest guy, zero ego, and he, how many credits that guy has? If he wanted to, he could just be a prick, and he's not. He was in the Bourne movies. How cool is that?
That's awesome.
But it is rare. You get on a show and you feel like you're the adopted kid a lot of the time, and I didn't feel that way on this show, which is important because when you feel comfortable, you give a better performance. Not that I was any good.
We thought you were good.
Whatever, man.
Stop fishing.
And Anna, I know you.
Fishing.
I know you have a few more questions.
I do have a couple of questions. And I think you kind of hinted at this when we were watching, but do you get to see entire scripts?
I do see entire scripts. The reason why I'm able to like talk about the stuff with you and genuinely not know what's going on is because we don't get the script until like the day before shooting, and we don't see a script we're not in. We don't get it emailed, you know.
I remember from seeing the bonus features in the first season.
Yeah.
They they would come to you guys and they would just hand you like the sides of the day of. They're like, all right, we changed everything from
It
last
happens
night.
all the time. I mean, it'll happen day of sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, because there's so many storylines, but everything's connected in its own way. So if this changes over here, then now technically this has to change, and then this has to change, and this has to change, and then all of a sudden, you know, you have too much going on, and now you have to cut things down. Well, if we're legitimately going to cut things down to make the 43-minute time limit, then we have to change bits of the story here and change conversation. So they're constantly, I mean, the writer's right on set with you saying, okay, okay, yeah, okay, typing away on their computer.
Yeah.
Like, there, on the spot. I mean, it's amazing.
That is amazing. It's really cool.
And
Writers don't get enough credit.
Do you guys
They should, though.
how much do you guys help them out? Like, if they're on the set with you, like, do you guys have any input? You know, of like, hey, you know what, my character would say this, or like, can we try this?
Well, I mean, from my experience, they were really, really nice. I think I've met maybe 4 of the writers so far. And sometimes they have more input on the show than anyone else because it came out of their head. You know, so I'd pull them aside and say, well, you know, the way I feel about Marco is X, Y, and Z. What do you think about that? And he or she would be like, that's exactly right. And, and every once in a while I'd say, well, could I say? Actually, one of the things that got cut in this episode was something I asked to say. And they were like, yeah, do that. And then they took it away. Rude.
Yeah. Well, they accommodated you anyway.
No, I'm
but
joking. No, yeah, they're super awesome. And yes, you can say that. I think that, you know, anything worth watching has been in some way a collaboration, you know.
Yeah.
You make things that are good or even great, even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my last question, and then Anna, you can ask yours, and I certainly have way more. But you know, going from you did daytime soap, and now this is kind of, as we joke about it, it is nighttime soap, right? So you went from Guiding Light to this.
It's true. The
So
light,
what is the
GL.
similarities and differences?
It's a fast-paced world. The soap world. It is. It's so. I mean, think about it.
Both? Is that a similarity?
They're both fast-paced, but nothing. Primetime can't touch soap world, and they can't. They can't. They're doing 42 minutes of material in a day, which is half of a movie. And even in the independent world, where I'm very comfortable with, you're still doing that whole film in a month. So they're taking one day to do half of a film, is the way I think of it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is completely insane, ridiculous. It shouldn't be possible. And there was a point when I was first on GL, when we were still on a 3-camera setup, that they were doing 7 and 5. That means they were doing 7 episodes in 5 days. And it was an hour-long show, so it's 43 minutes of material, 7 of those in 5 days. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, on Revenge, you get 8 days. And of course,
a little bit better.
It's a little bit better. That being said, it's high drama, so it's similar in that regard. The writing, I'm not going to by any means compare them, like which one's better or whatever, but well, everyone has more time, so I mean, really, it has to be a little bit better, doesn't it? You know, you have more time to create and to be inspired.
Yeah.
But the high drama is really just the main similarity between the two. Something's always happening. Someone's always killing someone. And I think I was the only person on a soap to actually serve his full sentence in prison. I was there the whole 2 years, I think. I don't know.
The whole 2 years.
I killed the
like
DA. It was great.
Well,
It's awesome. What's funny is that when I shot him, the gun didn't go off, but everyone was still like, oh, a gasp.
That is great.
That's me making fun of my old soap. That's okay. I can do that, I think.
I think
you've earned that right.
your contract is up, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. I think that's okay.
Go ahead. I'll let you ask Anna.
All right, so tell us what it was like to be on Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow. You know, it's funny. My father wrote that song.
Really?
That's why I was on the soap. My dad wrote the Reading Rainbow song.
Wow.
That is a lie. You guys believe? You really?
I mean, that would have been a good lie.
I love the sound effects here. Funny story. None of that is true. I was never on a Reading Rainbow. It's a common misconception of those of you who read Wikipedia.
I think it's also on IMDb.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
See,
ridiculous.
we got to get that
I don't
fixed.
know why it's there. I swear I was never on. I wish I would have. I didn't start acting until I was 16. I was well past Reading Rainbow's cancellation at the time.
IMDb's
I know
got
you guys were
You
like
should probably,
really excited about
like,
seeing
yeah,
that.
I was like super excited. I'm like, oh, Reading Rainbow, that's amazing.
It was
Here's what I'll
awesome.
say about IMDb. There's literally 10 Phil Svitek's on IMDb. I'm like, can we just, I've emailed them, can we consolidate it? Like, it's all me.
consolidate.
And they're like, no, we can't do that, sir. I'm like, but do you understand it's me? And there's like 10 different, could I just, let's,
Are
and they
they
all say Phil
misspellings of
Svitek.
your
No,
name?
they're the same spelling.
Weird.
I'm like, can we just, so yes, IMDb. We have confirmed tonight IMDb is very misleading. Martin, write it down. January
Make a
13,
sound
2013, IMDb has officially been marked as misleading.
All right, so back to, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, but just now you kind of brought it up, like, you know, oh, my dad did music, and just kidding.
It's not true.
So,
He didn't write music.
but
He hates music.
That's sad.
he hates, he must hate life. It's terrible.
He really actually tried to teach me how to sing with music. He loves
sweet.
like the doo-wops. Every time I hear an old Motown song or a doo-wop, I think of my dad and I start crying. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, anyway, that's too emotional for me to get into. But you were telling me earlier that you're getting into comedy.
I'm trying to, yeah.
Like stand-up or just what kind of comedy?
I just everything I've ever done. I mentioned before, like I'm comfortable in independent. I've done like a couple films, and all of them are these dramatic love stories and stuff like that. And Revenge is in its own regard a dramatic love story for Marco and Guiding Light as well. So I haven't done a lot of comedy professionally, and I want to. So I just enrolled in UCB's first level class, and my girlfriend and I are gonna go try to be comedians together. I'm learning. I
That sounds
realize
fun.
it's really. You guys can come if you like. Come see
Sure.
our show when we graduate. There's like a improv comedy show.
Speaking of that, what's your Twitter? How do people follow you?
It's at EJ_Bonilla, Bonilla.
That's right.
That's my Twitter and Instagram, and everything else I possibly have is under that.
Excellent.
But I'm learning that to be funny, you're not supposed to laugh at your own jokes.
No, that's I could have told you that.
Gonna be really serious.
I laugh at my own jokes all the time. Should we do some news?
Yeah.
Unless you have one last question.
No.
All right.
No.
We could ask fake Reading Rainbow questions.
You can.
Let's.
Hungry
not-
Calipater.
it's
not all it's cracked up to be. Can I
Yeah.
All right, let's
Surprise
do some news.
ending.
Let's do some news. AfterBuzz TV News.
All right. Why I have to read this tonight instead of Anna, I don't know, but she is making me read this, so forgive me if I sound like a 4-year-old.
I just love Phil's voice. It's very soothing.
You
to
do
me.
that.
Vern
Sexy
Gorman
ass voice.
will join the initiative on Revenge. He will play Trask, a representative from the group who will now make Daniel do their dirty work. And of course, Gorman, you know him from Dark Knight Rises, Johnny English Reborn, and my favorite, Layer Cake, starring Daniel Craig.
I love Layer Cake.
Layer Cake is awesome. So I'm excited for that. It doesn't say when he's going to be there, but we can look forward to that.
Yeah.
Anything that helps us understand the initiative, I'm all for. Because I don't understand the initiative.
Agreed.
Martin, hit the spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
There we go.
Spoiler alert.
So creator Mike Kelly recently teased the mid-season climax, which is going to be episode 14. We can expect the Porter's boat sinking with one or more Hamptonites on board. As Kelly says, there are going to be more weddings and more deaths. Very interesting. You know anything about this?
Huh?
All right. Fair enough.
No.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm thinking
when
about
asked to
things.
compare it to last year's climax of the Fire and Ice Ball, which is, the famous Tyler shooting, Kelly said, the emotional resonance of this particular tragedy is going to be a lot more powerful. Emily's world will be rocked, as will the viewers. So it's going to be interesting. Are the Ryans going to go down? They're going down. Someone's going down.
I don't know anything.
I'm sick of the initiative.
This isn't the initiative. These
I
are the
know.
Ryans. I'm sick of the Ryans. They're going down.
I know.
damn.
I'm just.
Marco
All right.
kills them.
I'm thinking about your last piece of news and gossip.
About it. Yeah, we'll get there. And talking
We'll get
about,
there.
I don't even. All right, so combine Aiden and Emily, and you get their nickname, which Adelie.
What? Yeah.
No, you know, like Jennifer.
Yeah, can I just put this out there? Not
Yes.
every couple needs to have like a squished together name. It's
Certainly not them, because I can't.
Yeah.
Adelie, I believe, is how you actually
My
pronounce it.
girlfriend and I have one.
What is
What
it?
is it?
Iche.
It's adorable.
That seems a lot easier than this.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Kelly says that there's going to be a huge loyalty challenge between them because Aiden's very complicated. He's got his own drama and agenda. Just as their passion grows stronger, they'll find themselves at odds mission-wise. So, obviously, we've got a little bit of start of that tonight, but we'll see as it develops. And the last piece of news that Anna is certainly looking forward to. The thing about Amanda is that she's a survivor. She's going to have a challenge coming up. In order to save what she has going on with Jack, there's going to be a choice she has to make that will involve a betrayal of Emily.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh.
I don't know what that means or what that's going to be.
I don't know.
There you have it from the man himself, Mike Kelly.
Love it.
Any thoughts on that?
Plenty.
Plenty. All right. Well, how about this? That's all the news and gossip we have for today, for January 13th, 2013. Let's move on into predictions.
You guys have
And
multiple
now,
segments. That's cool.
your AFTERBUZZ TV
Yeah.
predictions.
What do you predict?
On
What would you like to see? If
on
you could see-
television,
yeah, in the
Oh.
grand scheme of television.
I can just combine shows and make one weird show.
Let's stick with revenge.
Oh, revenge. Oh, right.
We're sticking with the theme of revenge tonight.
I would like to see more of a relationship develop between Nolan and Marco. I think that history breeds conflict, and I think any good show is made up of conflict, and I think that those are really great grounds to see something amazing happen. And I'd love to see maybe Nolan find someone who really loves him and not what he can offer. Because even Emily is always asking him for things, isn't she?
Yeah.
I think she has his back, but I think she's always...
Emily's never going to put out to Nolan.
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
I think it's possible.
Season 8?
I think it's possible. Season 8. Right before, the show goes away. I think that actually is possible.
Could be.
I think it could happen.
I think viewers would be very creeped out.
I don't
Just
think
thoughts.
anything is
But your brother and
impossible.
sister, that's weird.
Yeah.
My both relationship predictions, but I predict a public relationship between Conrad and Ashley, and a real rekindling between Emily and Daniel.
A real
Oh,
one.
wow.
Interesting.
That makes sense. I can see that.
I mean, this girl's all messed up. She likes Jack. She likes Aiden. She kind of liked Daniel.
That's how she falls into Nolan's arms.
Yes.
Nolan, I'm confused. Help me. Okay, baby.
I used to be confused too, Emily.
High five.
There you go.
Yes.
That's funny.
I can walk you through this.
Let me show you. I found
That's
my
kind of
way.
all I got for this episode. Where can we find? Let's start with you, Anna. Where can we find you?
Well,
Even
I'm
though
on a.
fans kind of know.
They kind of.
This is gonna be funny. Can you even guess her Twitter?
Annabelle.
Oh, that's
Love.
Very close, but not.
yeah. I'm Anna Koppel. You can follow me at Koppel for Mayor. KOPPELFOR
would've guessed that.
MAYOR.
Didn't know her last name. That was unfair.
Ambitious into politics. She's like Conrad. Anna
Someday.
Koppel for mayor.
Yeah.
And once again, where can we find you?
Now?
On Twitter.
Oh, Twitter. At EJ Bonilla.
If you want to give away your apartment
EJ
address,
_Bonilla. I live in Los Angeles.
there you go. Do you have Instagram?
I do have Instagram. It's also EJ _Bonilla.
There you go. So make sure to follow our guests, and of course you can follow us here at AfterBuzz TV. On behalf of myself, on behalf of Anna, on behalf of EJ, on behalf of Catherine Tulich, who is at the Golden Globes, on behalf of Gabrielle Loren, who is also at the Golden Globes, this is it. We're signing off for this week's Revenge. See you next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.